Join me today as we make this Tim Holtz-inspired insert for your next junk journal. And the best part is, it's using mostly Dollar Tree products. I'm Ingrid Carlson, and I am so very happy that you're here. Whether this is your first time, welcome, or if you've been with me for a while, hi. I hope that if you're not already subbed, you'd consider doing that now. And if you enjoy the video, I would really love it if you could give me a thumbs up. So if you want to learn step by step how to make one of these for your next journal, stay tuned. I got this book at Dollar Tree probably over a year ago, and as you can see inside, I've definitely used the pages up, and you've probably seen it inside of my journals or even for coffee dyeing. This is really great to have on hand. Now, there's times where you can buy books cheaper than Dollar Tree, but this is an option for you. I am going to also use some of this pre-cut parchment paper, also from Dollar Tree. And then as my base, so what all of this is going to go on, I'm actually going to use a piece of cardstock. Here I have, I believe this is 110-pound cardstock, and I had incorrectly printed on this side, so then I tried to print on this side for my new kit. I was doing my trials, and it misprinted on this side as well. So instead of tossing this, I'm going to use this. And I could also, if I didn't want any of this in the back, I could make it small enough, double it up, and then I don't have to worry about that, which is an option as well if you want it to be sturdier. Now, if you want it to be even more sturdy, or let's say you don't have any cardstock on hand, you could use a file folder, and Dollar Tree does carry the file folders there. That is a great base. And then if you want to get even more sturdy, you can use an offcut of a box of some kind of cardboard. You could even use like cardboard from a cereal box, or any kind of dry goods that you might have laying around in your garbage, and that's going to make more of a sturdy base. So there's two ways that you could look at this. This could be a project that you put on top of your journal, or this can be a project that goes inside of a journal as like an insert. So today we're going to work on the insert type. So like I said, I'm going to start off with this as my base, and I'm going to pull out I'm trying to use these up. These are Tim Holtz snapshots, and I'm going to look through them. I'm going to put to the side the ones that I might want to use. That would be cool. I think that I picked these out because they're not as wide. This one's probably the widest, so I'm going to look at these two. I like this one. I like the size of this one, so I think we're gonna go with these girls. So I'm actually going to make my base based on my photo instead of the other way around, where usually I make my base and then I put a photo that matches the base. And so because I'm doing that, I'm gonna make sure that this is going to fit, and I am gonna cut this down just a tad. I will not cut off any of that fabulous writing up top. Now I could cut this and then use it, and you guys have seen me reallocate writing in the past. I think that's probably good. And then I'm going to make my base a little wider than my photo. And you can use your paper trimmer, you can use your scissors, you can tear it out, whatever you want to do. I'm going to just use a ruler and tear the paper because the bottom is not that important to me. And like I said, if you wanted to, we could double up to make this thicker, which we can do that. So let me grab, I think I'm going to do a glue stick. I'm going to grab another piece of the parchment paper. And it does not matter how you line up your edges, and I'm going to worry more about the top and bottom. Although I think that for this look, staggered would still be nice. It won't make that big of a difference. And I'm just giving it a good burnish, or just making sure that my paper is getting contact with the other paper and that the glue has ability to set really well. And I'm going to line up my ruler and cut off that piece. And I didn't think about how tall I wanted it to be. I think I want to cut it down just a tad, and then I'll give you the dimensions of my base because I know you might want it to recreate the project similar to mine. I'm actually going to cut the bottom just a tad as well because I really like that edge. So we are working with a base of, wow, 5 inches. I thought for sure it was going to be off, and about 7.5. That's crazy because if I planned it, I wouldn't have been able to get it. Now I'm going to grab my book pages, and I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to start off with 4. And then I can always get more. Actually, I'm going to pull out 6 total. And that way I can put this to the side so it's out of the way. So I do not really want, actually in this case, I don't really care if the edges are showing or not. A lot of times I'll cut the edges down, but I think for this project we're going to leave the edges on. Let me think it through. We're gonna work on this together. We're gonna create it together. And actually I think we're gonna leave it. And so it's going to be larger than our, oh, and I just had an idea. So at the end, if we don't want this covered, and let's say this is going to be an insert for your journal, we can cover this with book page or with something else. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to start by just layering some of the pages. Like I said, I want a piece of parchment paper in there. So I'm going to grab one of these and I'm going to just use it as a rough pattern. Because we're staggering, it does not need to be exactly the same width and length. And I'm just looking to see how many pages would be good. Maybe I had the one that said baptism on it, this one. So I'm going to pull that. And then I think that's going to be my front. And I'm probably going to cut that piece down. So I ended up with 1, 2, the parchment paper, 3 and 4, which was what I was thinking originally. So we're going to start with this, and I'm going to, first I'm going to cover this, I believe, because it'll be easier to cover it now instead of at the end. Sometimes I do stuff like that. Like I'll wait until the end and have an afterthought, like, oh, that would be cool to do. After I've applied glue, then I distress. You guys have seen me do it, I'm sure. And that's why I can confidently say there's no wrong way. There are, you know, smarter ways around things, but there's no one way of doing everything. And I'm going to do the same thing here where I'm going to tear the edges. I'm going to go just a little past my edge with my ruler, and then I'm going to just rip it. When I'm ripping the edges, I also like to, instead of doing one rip, I kind of like to come in like this, in this kind of motion, if you watch, because it gives me more of a jagged edge. I'm going to show you the difference. This part I'm going to tear like that, and you can see that this is more kind of straight and this is more jagged. So it's up to you which one you prefer. So that's my back, and I'm happy with that. So now we're going to start building. And honestly, this could have been our back. Let's see. Now, I don't know what's on this book. So this could be, you know, things that don't align with anything that I believe, or that, you know, I like. And so I'm going to make, or I'm going to try to have it where it does not, like, I know I don't want that. If I can kind of see a word that stands out that I don't like, then I will I'll cover it up. So this looks like it's okay. I'm going to grab, kind of similar to what we did on our last project, although my stapler is not going to go all the way in. I'm just going to staple it. I might do both sides. I can always take the staples out, but this is going to keep them put. I'm going to move both of these out of the way. And what I'm going to do now is the same thing that we did before, where I'm going to press the edges with my finger. I'm just going to go around and do this. Now, you could have done it ahead of time before putting the pages together like we did last time, and allowed the pages to kind of dictate what order they're going to go in. But I decided this time to do it this way. So I wanted to show you both ways. And again, it goes with what I've been telling you. There is no wrong way. One thing I definitely like to add is ribs. And I think I want this rib to be more straight if I can. So I'm cutting just like a V shape out of it. And then now on the parchment paper, I want to crinkle it, but I don't want it to be necessarily hidden. So I want it to stick out like that. And if you want your papers to stick out more, then this is the time where you would do that. So I'm just looking to see what peeks through and what would give me some good interest. So I see this page here can get distressed. I think it might be, well, I know we're going to decorate the bottom, so I'm not going to worry too much about the bottom, but I would love to do a dog ear, I think. And if you've never heard of that term, that's where the page is folded. So maybe what we'll do is kind of the opposite. Well, not the opposite. So usually the dog ear goes like this, but oh, well, I really like that with the number. So I'm just going to crease it a few times. And now I'm going to grab some distress stain. And I'll probably just grab vintage photo because I think that was on top. And I'm going to just start distressing the edges. I'm going in pretty soft-handed, so I'm holding my tool kind of up like this and not a lot of pressure on it, so that it's not going to give me really harsh marks. And now I'm gonna look at it, and we can always add more wrinkles. This is just a base. And like I said in my past video, when you're using this parchment paper, I'm not sure how well the Distress Oxide is gonna stick to it, so just be cautious of that. Good. And I might leave that to be kind of loose. Normally I would maybe glue it down or put a staple here, and we'll see. It'll come together as it comes together. Now I do like this where it says baptism, and I like kind of the open space of it. So I'm going to cut down the edge of this. So using a clear ruler is really great for this, which I believe this is from Dollar Tree, because I can see the writing underneath and I can give myself the allotted amount that I need. And I'm not worried if it's not 100% even, or if I cut my lines straight or not, which I never do. Before I cut any excess off, I want to look at it and see what it's going to look like. I'm going to cut this, or I'm going to fold this like this. And so I think I like this because it's covering here, but I think I want, okay, I think I'm gonna go like kind of horizontal. Do you see how I tore that? And I'm just gonna tear it. On the pieces that it tore, I'm just going to like roughly cut those out, and then we'll kind of push those in. Okay. So now on this one, I do want to distress it. So I'm gonna do the same thing. And you can, again, go as distressed as you want. I'm kind of keeping it to the edges, so I'm kind of pinching the paper. I think that was a plane. That was crazy. I think I like this look. So we're gonna actually kind of pinch the paper all the way across. Kind of hard to do with that. There we go. Also, the more that you distress your paper, the less you're going to have where you can read it. I think I like this so far, but we're not gluing anything yet. We're gonna grab our girls. And I like the idea of having maybe a darker border behind them. So here you can use a solid paper. You could also use, like we did the paint chips. Where are they? I have them somewhere. I have my paint chips and my embossed paper. So let's see. I like the idea of this pink. And let's see what that's gonna look like. I'm going to cut down the top instead of tearing it because it's just a little harder to tear, but I am going to distress it with my scissors so that it looks more organic instead of a straight line. And I think that's what's giving me a hard time here, is that corner, and I might cut that. Everything with me is might, because I don't know until I get there. And that's why I'm a big fan of not cutting anything down until I'm ready, because I can always remove staples, I can always move stuff around, but once it's glued, it's really hard to do that. I think that looks so pretty already. And obviously this is going to be for a larger piece, right? You're not going to be able to put this in a tiny journal. I'm going to grab some, I'm going to see if I have some cheesecloth, which I think would look nice if I did like a cluster here. So I'm going to grab some cheesecloth. I'm also going to use, or try to use, you guys have seen me use this purse before, and if you haven't caught that video, I will have it linked down below. It's an awesome find at Dollar Tree. So I'm going to grab a piece. And I'm going to cut it kind of feel like that might be too thin of a piece for what I want. So I'm going to grab here and cut. I love that this cuts so well across. And I'm not worried about wasting any of it because I'm not. I actually kind of really like that feature on here. Let's cut this and see. I like that. Do have some cheesecloth. It's mostly white. It looks like it does have some distressing here and there. But we're gonna go ahead and distress it so that it makes it a little more cohesive with the background papers. And I'm just gonna take whatever was left over on my brush and distress it. This also opens up the fibers of my cheesecloth, which I like. So it's kind of two birds with one stone. I'm also going to distress the edge of the photo because it's a little stark white. And on this one, I am going to go a little more heavy-handed for two reasons. One, we have a high gloss this is very glossy. And then number two, I think that it can handle it because there is no color. Since it's kind of like a very like stark white, I think that that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and grab another ink. And I just happen to have this ink pad in blue. It doesn't matter the color as long as it's darker. And I'm going to rub it along the edge. So you're barely going to see color, but it is going to give it some dimension. And kind of tell that it's blue a little. I do like that O in the back, so I'm going to keep that in there. And cut some of this off. I don't want to cover her face completely. And now I'm going to, I feel like this would be cool to kind of hold something there. I like the stamped word destination, but I don't like the color. I don't want the blue in there. I'm going to grab some seam binding. And I'm using this. This is linked in my Amazon storefront. And I'm gonna grab, I'm just gonna make like kind of a bow out of it. And with my bow, I'm just gonna lay a staple right in the middle. But I'm gonna take another piece of this, and that might be too big, but we'll see. I'm just gonna take a small piece and I'm gonna wrap it around. We're going to hide that staple. And I think that that's a little too big. We're all like, yeah, that's too big. So because I just have a staple here, I'm going to try to bend it and just take that right out of there. And I'm going to make my loops a little smaller. I'm going to try that again. I like that size a lot better, and I will not throw that away. Keep it. Instead of doing the staple, I'm going to try to go ahead and just bypass it. I might regret this, but I'm feeling on the wild side. No, I'm just kidding. But if I was just crafting by myself, this is what I would do. I would chance it all, of the whole thing falling apart, and it would have been probably a lot faster if I would have just done it the right way, but that's how I learn. Oh, and I kind of like the way that it looks. I'm gonna squeeze it a little bit. And I like that the tails are kind of all like that. Now I'm going to take my distress stain. Put it away. And I'm gonna go in and add some distressing. So on this, I'm going to add distress to almost the whole thing, and then I'll add extra on certain parts. But I want to take away as much of that stark white as I can. just gonna play around with this and maybe layer it. I think I like that. And I think that's really good. Now, we could hand stitch, we can machine stitch, or we can staple. And I'm gonna staple. See, I feel like a sentiment is missing, and so in case you don't have any sentiments, I'm going to show you we're going to make some right now. I'm going to grab my paper, paper that I had on just the leftover pieces, the remnants, and I'm going to grab something to write with. Okay, my house is filled with pens and I could not find one to record with, but then I remembered that I had just gotten this journaling micro tip brush pen from Dollar Tree, and so we're gonna try this out together. And yes, this is my usual raccoon style of opening packages. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to write a sentiment on this paper. So I think I'm going to just write love. I think that's pretty simple. I'm going to take a pencil just to show you, and I'm going to come, actually I think I want it probably a little smaller, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to elongate those, the lines in between the letters. And I'm going to use my ruler to tear that out so that you don't see any writing. And before I tear, let's see if this eraser works. Before I tear the edges, I want to see what I have. I kind of really like that. And so now I'm going to start gluing pieces down. And I am going to grab my art glitter glue just because it's pretty almost instant, and I know it's going to give me a good hold. Now I'm going to start, I'm going to hold down all of my pieces with my hand and lift them carefully without moving everything. And I'm going to add glue inside, or underneath, not inside. I guess inside the pages. You just want to hold it down so that the glue has a chance to adhere. Now, as for this, I'm just going to take my glue gun or you can use double-sided tape. You can use any adhesive that you want. I would definitely go a little bit heavier because this is going to be a heavier piece. Let's I like it right there. Okay, because once we're down with that, we're down. Go here. I'm going to distress down here just a little bit more, and up here a little more, just by pinching it. I always think of this as like, this is a you know, a bundle, a bundle of letters or of, you know, book pages that you've torn out because you love what they say and you want to remember it, and you're putting it all together in a scrapbook. And so I just think that that looks so pretty, and that is naturally how it would weather. I'm going to put this down here, and it's probably not a bad idea to sew down this because it's so thick, but I'm just gonna add like globs of the glue. I should have put some of the ATC glue too. That would have held it better. And I'm just gonna hold it down for about 10 seconds while it just holds on to the paper. Next, after I do that, I am going to cut this edge, and I'm gonna just hold my finger down and organically cut it, maybe at an angle of how it normally would cut. Probably good. And that kind of emulates this too, which I really like. And now we're going to glue this whole thing on our base. So this is where I was saying if you want a sturdier base, I'm going to cover this with my glue. And then I'm going to add some wet glue on top of it as well. And you don't have to do all this. It's a little extra probably. Just gonna kind of see where the, actually I'm gonna lay this down so that this is straight, and then that way I can go straight down. And I just had an idea. Like I said, I always just kind of by the seat of my pants then decide to do something. We're going to add a pocket here, and I'm going to see if I have any book or music paper. I can see some peeking through. I actually like the music paper as a base. There we go. We're gonna add more layers. And I'm gonna glue this down. And then we are gonna build a pocket on top of this. And the main reason that I covered it is because there was some stuff here that was, you know, I don't necessarily want to see. So I'm just gonna close it. And I didn't have to go all the way if I'm gonna build a pocket, to be honest, hindsight. And we could build a little pocket like this. I have that little remnant. Let's even out the edge right here. And let's add some glue on the 3 sides. So just on both the left, the right, and the bottom. And that way I can leave that little edge poking out. I think that's really cute. And then I'm just gonna grab a tag, like a blank tag, and stick it in here so that I can show you what it would look like. So let's do a couple. And there you go. We have our finished, actually, I think before we finish, let's see, how glued are you? I'm gonna add some of this music paper. You thought you were gonna go through a video with me and not have me add music paper, and I thought that too. But I think that just adds some charm. And I love just using things that I love. It makes me happy when I look back on projects and I see little snippets of pieces that just bring me joy. I like, yeah, I think I'm gonna cover it a little bit so that I'm not covering so much. Let's see. Yes, I like that. Okay, I think we're done. I have one more idea, and that was to add just a little bit of like a light color up here. I could also, no. I cover that up. What if I do it here? Let's cut this smaller. Oh, I have to do it that way. I don't know what about it, just like kind of cut. I don't know. There's just something I really like about that, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that into place. And then I have double the embossing, so extra joy on my page. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that down one more time. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distress the whole thing again with some ink. So I think this kind of is blank and needs some. I forgot that I had kind of scrunched this up, and then I undid it when I glued it down. So and that is it, my friends. We have just finished our little insert or journal topper using mostly Dollar Tree products, and this is a project that comes together super quickly. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I want to show you what it looks like inside of a journal, like peeking out. I love that. Now, if you, this is kind of a little bit small. I don't think I have any bigger journals here. I think all my big journals have gone to their forever homes. I only have smaller journals, but I absolutely love this. Look how beautiful this looks. And if you have a problem with it sticking out, then definitely don't add it to something that's smaller. Add it to something that's bigger. And actually, that's a great question. I have actually two questions. One, do you like when pieces hang out of your journal, or do you like it more like this where it's streamlined and even? And then number two is, what do you feel about an alligator mouth? And for those of you that may not know what an alligator mouth is, that is when you have a journal, and so you can see this is, my spine is actually bigger than the edge here, but once I start adding stuff in it, it starts becoming what's referred to as an alligator mouth, so that this part is actually wider than your spine. And so I know there's a big controversy on that in the junk journaling world of liking it and not liking it. I think I'm kind of team alligator mouth, but I'm team add all the embellishments camp. So are you with me, or do you like more minimalism in your work? So I know there's room for all of us here, right? There is no wrong way to do it. And also, I wanted to remind you today, in case you have not been told, you are loved, you are appreciated, and you are valued. And I just want you to remember that as you go on about your day and start your day tomorrow with those encouraging words. I thank you so much for being here. I thank you all for spending time with me and for your love and support that you've added every time that you share this video, like this video, comment. It shows YouTube that in the algorithm, this is a good video to push out to others that maybe have never found me. And I just encourage you, if you have it in your heart to do so, to do one of those things or all of those things right now. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. I want to give a big, big old hug to my Patreons. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. If you want to know more about Patreon, then you can look at the link linked down below this video. Again, I thank you guys so much and love you, and see you soon. Love you. Bye.